Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. Welcome back to Hausfrau Friday. I have not had a Hausfrau Friday in a couple of weeks. Now, this is a segment where I talk about the overlap of domestic issues and philosophy and those kind of practical elements of sustainable living, right? So yes, this channel is about permaculture, but I'm also a homemaker who's raised and raising 4 kids, and that's a huge part of my life. In permaculture, we have these different zones within our garden and within our property. And our zone 0, our hub of our design, is our home. We spend most of our time at home, and it is the core and the central element from which we design outward. And so I think it's super crucial that we don't forget to include domestic issues with our pursuit of sustainable design and sustainable living practices and the policy that we craft around sustainability. So with that long introduction, for those of you who are new to Hausfrau Friday, today I want to talk about something that has been on my mind, and I don't know if this is an issue that you guys struggle with, or maybe it's just me because I've got lots of kind of Protestant work ethic, German parenting baggage that I have to work through and process, but one of the things that I really struggle with as a homemaker and as a person who is focused on earth care, people care, and fair share is, do I deserve nice things? And struggling with the feeling of, I have to deprive myself of things that are maybe lovely, things that are a little bit extravagant. And what is it that we want to think about, and how do we want to approach the idea of having nice things in a kind of treat yourself culture? And so if this is something that you don't struggle with, great, give me your tips down below, because I have a really, really hard time feeling like I deserve nice things. So there's this artist that I really enjoy. I've followed her for quite a while, but lately I feel like every post she makes really speaks to me. Her name is The Latest Kate, and I will link to her information down below. Perhaps you already follow her. She's got a really big following because she has kind of a quirky, upbeat, stylized art form with lots of pastels and gentle colors and gentle curves. And she folds into it these kind of mental health messages, particularly messages around self-care and around how you view provision for yourself. And I think for those of us that are homemakers, we can be kind of hyper-focused on provision for other people, and it can be hard for us to think that we deserve the good things that we want for other people. And when we look at the permaculture ethic of people care, I have talked a lot on this channel about how people care applies not only to the folks around us, the folks who have yet to be born that we want to provide for in the future by protecting the planet, but also for ourselves. Our life matters, our journey through this life matters, our experience of this life matters. And I think for me, as somebody who is kind of deconstructed from a very staunch kind of Calvinist background, it could be really hard for me to think that I deserve nice things, including rest. Actually, that's, I said in the beginning, the Protestant work ethic. It can be really hard for me to feel like I deserve rest and relaxation, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that doesn't, sorry, I got the squeaky chair again. It's a good thing that can be really hard to accept that I am worthy of, even though I encourage my family and friends to get the rest that they need. By the same measure, it can be hard for me to feel like I deserve any kind of nice, a physical material possession. And especially a material possession that I didn't find used at the bins or, get a super screaming deal on, Craigslist, some kind of trash to treasure thing. It's very, very difficult for me. And I think it is compounded by being highly invested in sustainable living and thinking about those permaculture ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share. I realize that it might be a little bit pathological, but I'm always thinking about, if I spend my money on X for myself, those are pennies that I don't have to give to an environmental cause or to gift to somebody else who has a bigger need than I have. And so for me, it can become this kind of almost like moral purity issue where I struggle to want to have nice things for myself because I feel a huge sense of guilt and a huge sense of I could have used that money or those resources or that time in a way that benefited the planet or other people who are more deserving than me. And I chose to spend that on myself. So sometimes even when I buy something that I need or I make an impulse purchase, it can be something very small, like, a skein of yarn for knitting into something. It could be something small, like, going out to dinner with one of my kids and spending that money out at a restaurant. It could be something big, like the fact that we're buying a new car tomorrow. Both of our cars are 20 years old, and we buy a car new. I think I've talked about this in the past, and drive it all the way until the wheels fall off. And one of our cars is just completely toast. Someone stole the catalytic converter, and it has a number of large problems. And so we made the decision to buy a new car and ride it for, another 20 years and completely use it up. And that is something I have been struggling with a lot. So as I was, making sure our insurance is lined up and everything is ready for tomorrow, I'm realizing that I'm buying a brand new car after years and years of driving very rundown cars that my friends tease me about and that are pretty trashed. I'm like, not so. When I, pull into the parking lot somewhere, I'm aware that my car is kind of the sketchiest looking car, to where I'm gonna have a brand new vehicle, and it feels so opulent, and it feels really challenging for me to feel like I deserve a new car. And even though I know that the way I'm looking at the finances of that and the way that I'm looking at how I will use that car, it feels really hard for me to think that I deserve something that's not kind of an old junker. And both in terms of spending that kind of money and then just having a shiny new material possession. And you may have criticisms down below about like why a permaculture person bought a new minivan. That's fine. You can leave your opinions. We can talk about it. But again, I think that for those of us that are homemakers and for those of us that want to think about sustainable living, forgive the Sharpie on my hand, for those of us that are kind of have those things interspersed, and then maybe we have a history of, maybe it's poverty in our childhood. Maybe it is growing up in a strict household where you weren't allowed things like treats or television or anything that felt like you were treating yourself. Maybe you have been told you are not worthy, either by church leaders or parents or some other force in your life, a boss, siblings, that you are not worthy of those things. And I just want to let you know, even though it's hard for me to emotionally accept that the good things I want for myself are okay, and that when I want good things for people that I love, I should be able to flip that around and ask, like, why don't I deserve the same good things? I just want to reassure you that you deserve good things, and that there is a balance to be struck between providing for those that you love and care for, being a homemaker and needing to conserve your budget and be really careful with finances, and wanting to make sure that you enjoy this one life that you get. There is a balance to be struck between wanting to pursue sustainability, wanting to focus on earth care and people care and fair share, and having enough resources that you can make sure that you are benefiting your community, that you are benefiting those in need, and that you are not taking more than your fair share. You can do that without living an ascetic kind of, very stale, dry life of deprivation. And I think it's so important that when we are engaging in looking at how we can provide for our family and live within our means, when we are looking at how we can have those kind of ethical ways of engaging with our community and our household and our life, that we are not abandoning our own experience of this life. And I think that that's something that permaculture really could stress more. And I think if you look in if you peel back the onion of what permaculture is teaching, that's in there. Abundance is a message of permaculture. It's a theme. It is a reality of using permaculture design principles. And so it's not about a life of deprivation. It's about a life of abundance. And for me, I think that that's something that, I keep going back to, is that I deserve what I want for my community. I deserve the same things. All people everywhere deserve abundance and provision. And we all deserve to experience this life in a joyful way. So I realize that's a little bit rambly today, but it's something that's been on my mind, and I just want you to know that if you are interested in permaculture, that, whatever you are bringing from your past to the table when you start to explore what permaculture is, or if you are looking at how can I be somebody who lives within my means and cares for my household in a way that reduces our debt burden and helps us live a simpler and more sustainable life, that does not have to be a life where you don't care for yourself. And I think the balance between eschewing materialism and realizing that stuff won't make us happy, and realizing that buying things and accumulating possessions and fast fashion and a rapid turnover and that kind of like momentary high we can get from buying something, unless you're me and then you feel this horrible sinking guilt anytime you spend money, that there's a balance to be had where like we can push back against all of that, and we don't have to swing the pendulum so far that we are living like a hermit in the middle of nowhere with like just a little wooden spoon and a wooden bowl and rags for clothes, and that we're not enjoying rich, spiced, indulgent meals, and that we're not experiencing art and culture and literature. Maybe that's that tension of trying to embrace sustainable living while living in American, consumer culture, is that we have to find that middle ground. We have to avoid those kind of, perfectionistic tendencies. We can't become zealous to the point where we lose track of why we're living this way, right? For me, I began becoming interested in permaculture because I wanted to think about how I interacted with the planet and my community and how I could live more sustainably, but also more joyfully. And I think that when I have that tendency to get zealous, when I have that tendency to have that kind of Protestant guilt kind of weighing on me, it's important to remember why I'm living this life. Remembering that people care is for our family members, it's for folks in our community, it's for folks we have not met and will never meet, and it is also for ourselves. I think that's super important. You can live a life that pursues sustainability in all its forms, and at the same time, remember that truly being sustainable means that it is a life that is full of joy and a life that you can sustain, right? A life of deprivation is not what we're built for. We're built for a life of abundance. If you are somebody who doesn't struggle with this, or you're somebody who's struggled with it in the past and has insight into how you have worked through it and been able to make peace with caring for yourself and embracing the pursuit of joyful endeavors, whatever that may look like for you, or if you're somebody who has really struggled with materialism and feeling like that is a weight and has pulled back from that and found joy in actually not treating yourself to things and realizing that the nice thing and the gift you can give yourself is to withdraw from those kind of toxic influences, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I hope that you all are going to stay dry and warm. I know here in Portland, it was snowing this morning and it's going to be very cold and not that pleasant over the weekend. I hope that you can have a good weekend in which you focus on your own joy and your own provision, and that you can strike that balance so that when you fill your own cup up, you're able to then overflow and help take care of other people. And you do deserve nice things, and I will try to remember for myself that I also deserve nice things. So I don't know if I'll have a video out tomorrow or not. We'll see how it goes. I said in my last video, I have surgery coming up next week, which is something that I thought like maybe I wouldn't tell everybody about, but I think I need to because I'm trying to pre-film enough content that it's not a gap in my posting, both because I want to care for you guys, and also, let's be real, the algorithm will punish me really hard if I stop putting out videos for a couple weeks. So I'm trying to preload all of that, but if there is a slow down in the amount of videos I have over the next few weeks, I want you to know that that's why, as I'm working on recovering from surgery. We'll see how it goes. And I will be back very, very soon. Thanks.